Hi, I'm Zach.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And welcome to This Movie is a Hot Dog,
Boy,
a
is
podcast.
this.
No, I would say that this movie's not a hot dog.
Wait, is
okay.
being a hot dog good? We haven't even decided that.
No.
I like hot dogs. You don't like hot dogs.
I'll stand a hot dog. Let me get through the preamble.
Shut up.
Well, welcome to This Movie is a Hot Dog, a podcast where me and a friend of mine watch a bad movie, critically, financially, or otherwise, then review it, break it down, and tell you what we think. Boom. Okay.
Thanks.
No, I don't. No, I think don't get me wrong, I'm always in the mood for a hamburger. I'm not always in the mood for a hot dog.
I'm always in the mood for a hot dog because it's just lighter and less messy sometimes. Like, I always want both, but, like, even in between meals, I got room for a hot dog.
A hamburger is less messy? Is more messy? How are you eating your hamburgers?
I get a lot of toppings.
The condiments are free, so I got a half a pound of relish on everything.
You don't?
That's why you go to McDonald's and you get $1 cheeseburger and then you just fill it full of shit till it's the size of a Big Mac.
I don't go to McDonald's. I go to good hamburger places.
Oh man, like Five Guys?
No. What?
Five Guys is great.
Well, I've been to some bad ones.
Welcome to the hamburger podcast, by the way.
We also mentioned hot dogs, but anyway.
Okay. Anyway.
Well,
we'll have to push that to the end whether like being a movie being a hot dog is good or bad. But right now, boom, we watched 2013's Hansel and Grettle starring Jeremy Renner and a lady with brown hair.
So, for those of you who don't know who Jeremy Renner is, he was the guy with no powers in Avengers, the guy that you didn't care about. And
he's the second Bourne unit.
Again, we just keep hearing people we don't care about. This guy plays people you don't care about.
No, I mean, Jeremy
Such
Renner,
as Hansel.
I don't, well, you know what? I care about him now. I love this movie.
Yeah, I mean, so, he didn't make me love it, but yeah.
No, he didn't make me love it, but like, this is the first movie we watched that I absolutely didn't hate.
Yeah, I was able to finish it. I actually enjoyed following it.
I was able to finish it. Wow.
I wasn't able to finish the other two.
And neither was I. First thing, credits roll. MTV Films? ?
Before the credits even roll, they're already at like the fucking candy house.
No. This is before the movie even starts. It's the first thing that happens. They're going like this production company, and then they go
MTV.
Watch that. Well, see, I learned something that you didn't. See what happens when you pay attention?
You waste more minutes of your life.
I don't regret a single minute of this movie. Not a single one. Rousing review from Matt. Well, okay, so take us away, Matt. It starts off like the fairy tale.
It blasts off. If this was a Superman movie, Kal-El is already in the spaceship. The kids just get thrown into the woods like parents clearly about to die, then boom, witch's house. Like that.
Well, you don't know that at first, because the original story is they just can't feed their kids, so they figure the next best thing is to just abandon them.
Well, either way, like, Dad drags them out to the woods, and, like, I just assumed dead. Turns out I was wrong.
I didn't assume that. Like, before it got into, like, really the story, I just assumed it was the fairy tale. They can't feed their kids. The dad leaves them there. He doesn't really want to leave them there, but he has to, because he can't afford them. And then he just assumes they die.
I just assumed the parents died, so I guess me and the dad have, very opposing
a lot in common.
views. Yeah, and then, the kids, without breadcrumbs or anything, just wander off into the woods and find an oozing house. I mean, this thing is just dripping with frosting.
Yeah, it
doesn't look really sanitary.
I was going to say, it's not like the gingerbread house you picture in your head with, like, candy cane, like, supports. It looks like they made it out of chocolate and frosting, and it's been there for 3 weeks, and it's just been slowly melting.
And it's in its twilight.
Yeah, right. Like, it's like one crow landing on the roof from collapsing.
But the kids, being kids and have just no concept of sanitation, are just scooping this shit up and eating it.
You know what's also good for a house that's clearly melting? A wood-burning stove.
I mean, maybe that's the source of the problems.
You think she's just been like, man, it's cold every night. I'm going to throw like logs in the fire. And it's just slowly destroying her home.
And she has no idea.
You know what I would have appreciated that we didn't get in this movie?
Yeah.
Where you don't see the scene where they're like, we're gonna get children. Let's build a candy house. And then she's got to hire contractors.
Oh, yeah.
And like a chocolatier.
Not only that, though, but every other witch house is just like a house.
Right. They never explain. And in this
There
movie,
is no explanation of why this is a candy house.
No. And in this movie, they explain so much stuff that you really don't need explaining, that you figure they could go out of their way to be like, and then this witch cast a magic spell on a candy bar and it turned into a house.
Or a house and it turned into a candy bar. Either way.
But then they see that same... Then they see, well, not to skip ahead, but I'm going to skip ahead literally the end for a brief second. When they go back like 45 years later and the candy house is still there,
okay.
Like how is it not covered in ants?
Exactly. Like the candy house looks like at the end of the movie, it looks like the frickin' shack in Evil Dead. Like it's just a little rundown and decrepit, not just like melted from rain on sugar.
Right. It should have not only been like
it should have looked like that a week afterwards.
It shouldn't even have looked like that at all. By the time they got there, it should have been a vacant lot.
No.
But anyway, starts off like the fairy tale. Kids go into the chocolate factory house and continue.
And then we see old lady, disgusting, nasty witch woman who...
She's not even an old lady. She is a monster.
She's a monster. No, but like she still looks more human than every other witch in the movie. Because at first it looks like she's just old, but then all the other ones look completely unnatural.
Yeah, these witches, like, excluding the first one, I'll give you that, excuse me, aren't witches, they are monsters. Like, they have very vague human features, but, like, growl and have claws, and they use their magic very sparingly. They're more like, I'm gonna choke you, as opposed to shoot you with magic.
Well, we'll get into their appearance a little later, because that becomes important.
It really does.
But yeah, so the kids, you know, they overpower the witch.
No, you're missing the important part about Hansel.
Oh, Hansel eats like a fist-sized amount of candy, and apparently it gives him diabetes forever, but...
Well, he's in a cage, and the witch is, like, trying to fatten him up, like in the story, and she's forcing him to eat candy, so...
Because even though in the book, like, most of them, or in the story, they're just eating candy because it's a fucking candy house.
Yeah, they're willingly eating it. In this one, she's, like, force-feeding him, and... She's saying it, implying like this is the first time she's telling him to eat candy. So he takes what appears to be 3 to 4 bites out of some kind of candy.
A pretty moderate dosage of candy, as far as candy's going.
Meanwhile, Grettle like pulls a nail out of a floorboard, which the floor is made of wood. So, like, does that imply the frame is?
Zach, you gotta have a decent foundation. I mean,
if you're gonna make a candy house, you need like a solid foundation on which to build your candy canes.
Because obviously the rest of the house isn't gonna be very structurally sound, so you might as well at least have a decent foundation.
It already isn't, and this house is supposed to be like brand new.
Is it brand new? We have no idea.
We have no idea, but when we see it later, it's rotten and moldy, and candy doesn't last that long.
Well, I mean, maybe it just needed upkeep. Maybe as long as it had a witch lady to upkeep it.
So you're saying after, like, they killed this lady, no one was there to, like, reapply, like, chocolate layers?
Yeah, to just reapply all the frosting jizz that was just dripping down off the ceiling.
God, that'd be horrible. That's not even as bad as painting your house. Like, you paint your house, like, once every 2 years. You gotta, like, refrosting your house once a month.
It looked like once a day.
And it wasn't doing much either.
Yeah, right?
But
that stuff is flowing.
But it's not just, like, in the story where they kill her. The kids escape and then ruthlessly slaughter and burn this witch alive. And then little Grettle, the little girl, has like a pithy one-liner where she's like, "Yeah, you eat it now, bitch."
Yeah, I thought that kind of sets you up for the rest of the movie because it is very graphic.
It is. Like, it's not just like, "Oh no, I'm burning." Like, it's like, "Ah! Ah!" Like, there's like a violent murder.
And so then during the credits, you get this montage of news headlines, and it says, like, kids escape witch. But really, it's like they escaped the witch the same way Russia escaped Germany in World War II. Like, they wrecked that witch, and then they went on to wreck it harder.
to not confuse people who haven't seen this movie, it's not like a spinning headlines from like the 40s. It's like old-timey newspapers. Instead of like pictures, there's like drawings.
It still looks like hot off the press, especially in the Middle Ages.
It's supposed to... Well, we'll get into what time period this is later.
I don't think we can ever get into what time period it is, because it varies from the future with weapons that we still don't have to, like, thousands of years in the past, where, like, oh, just put some water on that big bloody gash you have, because that's the best I can think of.
Well, as they kill the witch, they walk away, and there's a voiceover from, like, grown-up Grettle who says... Or no, Jeremy Renner, who says, we never saw our parents again. But then they become famous, like, what appears to be, like, a month later, because they show... One of the headlines is, like, these children kill another witch as children.
Yep.
Like, you think they could have used their fame to, like, find their parents, even if it's just to yell at them for abandoning them. It's implied that they never try.
Why would they?
I don't know. Revenge? Something?
Nah, fuck those kids.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, once the credits are done rolling, and it's been thoroughly established that Hansel and Gretel are famous and witch hunters, we see a town of hillbillies that are getting ready to get a good old witch burning going.
Before you go into that, can I tell you something? You remember when the guy was handing out milk, like fresh milk?
Yeah.
So there's a guy handing out, like, these bottles of milk, and he goes, fresh milk! Fresh milk! And I had to rewind it. He was going, fresh milk for the kids, fresh milk for the kids.
Yep.
And I had to rewind it because I could have sworn he was yelling breast milk for the kids.
Might have been.
It's not, because
Did you see any cows?
Well,
there wasn't a single cow in this whole movie, Zach.
I put on the subtitles just to be sure.
Zach, there weren't any cows in the movie.
Yeah, but
they probably only got their milk from women.
But they didn't, though. Don't get me wrong.
It still didn't say it wasn't breast milk.
Yeah, it said fresh milk. It didn't say...
Did it say fresh milk from a cow?
It didn't say, parentheses, we're not quite sure what kind of milk they're selling, end parentheses, and then they just said the word milk. They said fresh milk.
I'm going to go with it was breast milk.
Anyway. Okay.
So... We go to a town where we find out he's the sheriff, even though he sounds like the town preacher.
And or only Russian man.
Quick detour again. This movie and accents, they're just all over the place.
Like, okay, so we set up, just to tag off what you said with accents, I'll let you continue the witch thing, but this village is what, like, you would in your head picture a middle-age village in some sort of Central European country.
Yeah, a bunch of one-story huts. You know,
right, there's a lot of, like,
crazy.
women... Right, there's a lot of women with, like, heavy dresses with, like, bonnets on, and everybody has, like, those three-pointed pilgrim hats or whatever the hell. And I'd say 95% of the population of this town either has a British accent or some type of European accent.
Which makes it all the more shocking when Hansel and Gretel show up with just none.
Just like they just showed up from New York. Like they got off a bus and went, hey, we're both from Philly. We got like our 90s leather jackets on and fingerless gloves. And you're like, what? Did you get out of your time machine? It's not even like they're trying to have British accents and they're doing a bad job. They are not trying.
So anyway, we are at the quote-unquote trial of an alleged witch who, after seeing the first witch, who was old and grotesque, she's young and I would even go as far as to say attractive, which plays an important part because Hansel interrupts it and gives her a quick look over and briefly kind of says mostly to the audience, the way you tell a witch is if she's rotting, because apparently dabbling in the dark arts causes a sort of necrosis.
Also, it's like they're accusing this witch in the good old-fashioned way, just like in real life. They're going to burn a woman with no evidence. Actually,
their trial was just drowning her.
Yeah. You said that like you were going to go, well, that was their evidence. Like,
yeah. If she drowned, then she's innocent.
I'm talking about real work. Never mind.
That's all the evidence they had in all of the witch trials.
Well, she drowned. I guess we drowned a poor innocent woman. Our bad.
That's 17 innocents. One day we'll find a guilty. the mayor and Hansel and Gretel interrupt this. It's clear from this interaction that the mayor and the sheriff are at odds, so we'll see how politics plays out later.
Because the sheriff wants to handle the witch problem the old-fashioned way, just by killing random townswomen until,
Until there are none.
Until the plague stops because everybody started washing their hands.
Yeah, he's basically trying to burn the forest to get rid of the wolf. So the mayor leads off by saying, so Sheriff McCrazy's wrong, but there's a place where there might definitely, obviously, is 100% guaranteed to be a witch.
And they don't stop, once we get out of that scene where they save the witch, there's not, a big 40-minute, anything. They go immediately to find this real witch and have a shootout with machine shotguns and machine crossbows. Honestly, it's a really cool scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's... She heads right out there with no pause, and you see Gretel with a crossbow, and she raises it to fire, and you're like, all right, she's going to make this shot count, but she just paints the wall with more crossbows than could possibly fit in that device.
You're implying that crossbow shot smaller crossbows.
It might as well have.
Yeah, she's like Matt said, she picks up a crossbow and you think she's going to go thwack and hit it, but she misses it, but that doesn't matter because this crossbow holds 300 arrows and is also self-reloading.
Exactly. You don't even bother seeing them.
It's a fully automatic crossbow.
Yes, which is possible because when the crossbow casing expels its powder, it causes the crossbow thing to cock itself again and get ready for the next crossbow bolt.
Except it's not, self-contained like a gun is, which is how that works.
Yeah, its recumbent mechanism is literally not explained at all, but I guess we don't care. We're just assuming that. And Hansel has the most ridiculous shotgun you've ever seen. It looks like a tree trunk.
It's a steampunk shotgun.
Yeah.
This movie has a heavy steampunk element where it's ooh, it's old timey, but a lot of things have gears on them that shouldn't have gears. He has a shotgun that is huge, which keep in mind, neither of them ever have to reload either of these things ever.
Ever. Neither do they have any recoil at all.
No, and neither should these weapons exist. Because, like I said, in the beginning, it's it's the Middle Ages. And then, at one point, when they first get there and they're talking about the first witch, the woman who turns out not to be a witch, some of the sheriff's people, start to draw guns.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, everybody has guns. When is this?
Yeah, well, so you see the guns before you see the crossbow, actually, which is the annoying part.
I'd agree.
Exactly, yeah. You see, all the sheriff's people clearly have some kind of pistol or concealed firearm. You see Hansel wielding his log of a shotgun, and then
Grettle has.
And then in the next scene, though, she just has super crossbow. And yeah, Grettel first shows up with a gun, and then you never see that gun again. The rest of the movie, she's slinging the machine crossbow, and I don't blame her.
Yeah, I mean, it works. In the universe of the movie, it works way better than the guns. Well, that's not even true. They both work pretty well.
They both work too well.
Yes, which I'm going to get into later. So they shoot at the witch, she jumps out a window, gets on her speeder bike from Star Wars Episode 6, and rushes through the woods. For 5 seconds, it looks like the Star Wars speeder bike fight.
Well, and so Hansel grapples onto her leg, has 3 seconds to set his feet and get ready to go, but just doesn't and gets yanked off right away and dragged halfway through the woods.
And it's one of those things where it's not this isn't played to be spooky or anything. It's noon outside. It's broad daylight. This isn't a spooky film. This is an action. This is an action film.
Yeah, for a movie with a spooky villain such as a witch, they don't really draw out the suspense at all. The lighting is always very bright. The tempo is always very fast. You're really not left waiting for anything around a corner. It's all just boom, 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 one thing after another. Which
I think is what helps make this movie be good. Because if they were playing it for spooks, it would be dark and dumb, and there'd be a lot of stupid dialogue, which there is anyway. But because it's sandwiched in between action, like it's silly in a good way.
Yeah, there is a lot of action. I would say there's probably 7 or 8 one-on-one, like, good hardcore witch fights that last about as long as all of the gunfights combined in Gallowwalkers.
I was just going to say that when there's a gunfight in Gallowwalkers, you're like, okay, well, I can, like, close my eyes and it's over. This, you kind of want to watch it because, like, it's also, this movie's actually pretty gory, too. Like, people die in, like amusingly violent ways.
There's a razor whip that makes an appearance. There's a shovel decapitation.
And at one point, a giant troll just steps on a person's head and then explodes like a pumpkin.
So, but speaking of the combat, so the witches, we can go into them a little bit. The witches have a variety of things to use in a fight. In one scene, you see them using, like, a spell to raise trees and use those to attack. And another, they use some mind control on both animals and humans.
They do have wands. They actually have, and the wands are actually pretty neat. It's not like a pointer stick. It's like twisted roots. They look kind of neat.
Yeah, they kind of look like they would very easily fit in with, like, Lord of the Rings and that kind of wand.
And they can, like, summon not just brooms, but, like, any kind of tree branch that's nearby and use it like a broom to fly on it.
And they can also throw them at things.
Right. So they have all this array of powers and weaponry. Matt, what do they use more often?
More often than not, they fight in the sense that most people have, like, portray vampires as fighting, in that they can move super fast and they are super strong and they just fist fight.
And, like, choke and, like, try and scratch you.
Even though there's plenty of scenes where they just point their wand and they blow up a tree.
Right, or just, like, throw fireballs from their hands.
Yeah, they're, during one scene when, so Hansel and Gretel capture witch number 2 that we see. They take her back to the sheriff's office after some brief interrogation, and... Where
interrogation meaning Jeremy Renner just punches a woman in the face.
So the interrogation is very brief. He literally, like, takes 2 swings and is like, well, this nut's just not going to crack. And then they just give up and go back to good old-fashioned 600-year-old police work where they have, like, 3-page write-ups on all of the victims.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, who's keeping all these files? Like,
no
they
one.
literally...
No one's keeping these files. This is the Middle Ages. No one can even read.
But they went into the sheriff's, like, filing cabinet and, like, where are the birth records of every single... Well, they do get some information out of the witch. They're like, we need... she says something about a blood moon and that we need 12 children. So they're like, where do you keep all the birth records of every child in the town? It's like, well, nobody does that. People are just fucking and having kids and drowning them and like.
Yeah, like they don't all come to give birth in the hospital where we can conveniently like keep track of everything.
But in this weird future, they keep birth records and they find all the children who are missing, and there's 6 boys and 6 girls, and
6 boys and 5 girls.
Right. There's supposed to be a child for every month, and they're missing a girl from April?
And lucky for them, for plot convenient reasons for the writers, there's only one girl in the town who's ever been born in April. Because they literally just say, like, there's just one. They don't go like, well, there's one who's 17, but we can probably write her off. They just go, there's one.
Well, I get, you know what? See, that's the thing where this movie kind of picks and chooses, where it's like, is this set in the Middle Ages in a small European village where there might only be one girl born in April? Or is this some weird movie where this is a populated village? Because when you see an overview of this village, it's huge.
Yeah, and if you look at that book of birth records, there was thousands of names.
Well, okay, I just looked at my notes. We skipped something. We got to go back because it sets up this scene. So while Jeremy Renner and Grettle are going to get the real witch, the sheriff is like, I don't trust that Hansel and Gretel, and he sends his own posse of dead meat.
Yeah,
who are meant to die. Yeah. To go into the woods to find the witch, and that's where we meet Famke Janssen. That's the name of that actress, Famke Janssen.
Either way, I'm pretty sure she played Phoenix in the X-Men.
She did. She played Phoenix in the X-Men, and she played Onatov in GoldenEye. And she, I don't know why I know that. And
you know why you know that.
I do know why I know that, because I'm me.
Yeah.
And so she shows up and kills them all and makes one guy eat a worm and then go back to the village.
Or eat all of the worms.
And then he goes back to the village where Hansel and Gretel are drinking beer, and they meet their fanboy, who is like really like, oh, there was one cool scene from where Famke Janssen kills all those people. One of the guys is running away, and she casts a spell where all these vines like grab all of his limbs.
So and yeah, then I saw that.
Draw and quarter him.
Evil Dead again.
Yeah, she like all these vines just grab him and then just rip all his limbs off. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, and it would have been very convenient in the fight against Hansel and Gretel, but I guess she just forgot that move.
Remember, their spells don't work on them because for some reason they haven't explained, but we all figured out 20 minutes in.
Their spells, like, maybe there's... So in the beginning, they, like, the witch from the candy house tries to zap them, but who's to say that they can't still magic the trees and just rip them apart?
Well, because
that's not a direct action spell. Like, if they can pummel them to death, they can magic trees to pummel them to death.
Because these witches aren't witches, they're monsters.
Nope. Still not explaining it.
So Hansel and Gretel are in a bar. Their weird fanboy comes up. He's like, I'm your biggest fan. Look, I've got all of your newspaper clippings or whatever. Like, and this is literally the last time I'm going to mention him because he's really annoying.
I don't know why you mentioned him at all. I was prepared not to.
Okay, well, this is the last time. The witches, this in the bar, they say the witch's magic doesn't work on them, and it's like a throwaway line. And at that point, that's when the last guy, the survivor, who they forced to eat all the worms through a magic spell, shows in, gives everybody a warning, and then just explodes. And he explodes into worms, and it's another thing where it's like, it's a stupid, silly death, but it's done really well.
Yeah.
It's really fun just to watch this guy literally blow up. So we cut to, I'm going to get us to where the attack is, and then you can take it off.
God, please do.
All right, here we go. So we cut to where there's a coven of witches who live under a tree, where they have all the kidnapped children and a giant troll. Yep. And they are trying to do some kind of spell that will make them all fireproof. But literally the scene, so they can't be burned, like witches are burned.
Yeah.
But in the scene before, Jeremy Renner's fanboy literally asks him, how do you kill a witch?
And he lists 5 ways.
Right, he lists 5 ways. He's like, well, you can cut their heads off, you can cut their hearts out, you can skin them. Apparently just skinning a witch kills them. And then he goes, or you could burn them. Which makes me go like, well, what is this fireproof thing going to do? Because it's like, you can still die.
Yeah, because any time Hansel and Gretel are killing a witch, it's not like they luckily get them with just a spark of fire and they go up like tinder boxes. No matter what they're doing to kill these witches, it's a lot of work. So fireproofing isn't really the be-all, end-all.
And as we'll see later, you can literally just shoot them with a gun, and they will die.
That gun was special, though.
Okay, okay. But you can take a sword and cut their head off.
You can do that always.
You can do that. You can take a sword and stab it through their heart, and they'll die. Yet they're acting as if this fireproofing spell that they can only cast once in a generation, which will apparently work forever.
But they've just never gotten it off.
They're acting like it will make them immortal, but we know that it won't.
So, Supreme Witch Lady with
No, the next thing's important. Jeremy Renner is in the town square buying a pumpkin for some reason.
He was buying clothes.
No, he had a pumpkin because
he also had clothes. He was setting a trap.
Oh, you're right. They used the Oh, wow. I didn't even catch that. Good on you. Congratulations.
So
he's buying a pumpkin and some clothes, and the woman he saved earlier from being killed as a witch is talking to him about something stupid. And suddenly he starts he has like a steampunk wind-up watch, starts like clicking and tinking, and he starts to cough and fall on the ground, and that's when we find out that Jeremy Renner, as Hansel, has some form of super diabetes, which affects him instantly. Because as Matt said earlier, when he's in the candy house and they like, eat this candy, he got diabetes. But, like, diabetes that as soon as he becomes immobile as soon as he needs insulin.
Yeah, it's literally a ticking time bomb, which, to anyone who knows anything about diabetes, it's kind of a gradual onset of, like, getting a little loopy, and you never really know what's going on until it's a little too late. So,
and then he pulls out his steampunk EpiPen
yeah,
full of insulin that doesn't exist.
This is an overly complicated syringe that he uses.
And then this is the point where I developed my theory, Matt.
Well, what theory is this?
Where this is actually set in a post-apocalyptic future. Because it's like he's got an American accent and a shotgun and a watch and insulin. 4 things that shouldn't exist in medieval Europe. And nobody's like, why do you have all of these crazy things? Like, in fact, the woman who's there with him is like, oh, you've got diabetes. I know all about that. And you're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? So it's like, they've got all these crazy things and all this wacky equipment, and then in the next scene, where they use the pumpkin, which I didn't even realize, they set up a dummy that looks like a child.
They set up a Ferris Bueller, basically, with a phonograph off in the woods.
Please explain this scene, and if you can, explain the metal phonograph to me.
So, to catch the witch that killed the sheriff's little mercenary party, they have set up a fake child to lure out the witch, since obviously the rumor around the town is they've been kidnapping children. So he has a kid's clothes, he has a pumpkin, and he has a phonograph with a recorded plea to, I don't even remember what the words were, but either way.
The phonograph is just like notches on a circle piece of steel.
Yep, which is really bent askew, and if anyone had ever seen a record, they'd go, that won't play. But
but it does, and it sounds identical to a child.
Yep, there's no distortion or anything. It's pretty amazing, actually, that they had distortion levels that low on a phonograph.
When we can't even get it that low on this podcast.
Probably one more point for in the future.
It's in the future after some sort of nuclear war, and these witches aren't witches, they're mutant.
Nailed it.
Got it.
All right, send it off to Stan Lee. But yes, so they jump this witch, and then they have this fight that we talked about 20 minutes ago. And
but in another scene, it's another witch fight.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second witch they fight.
So they do all that. They capture the witch live with the help of greasy homeless guy who tases the witch.
With a steampunk cattle prod.
So then they take her back to the sheriff's office, brief interrogation, blah, 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 town records, blah, blah, blah. So once they discover that, they pretty much find out that they have to save this girl right as the witch trio decides to come attack the town. This is where we see the witch's probably most powerful attack, which they never use again, where she's literally able to cast fireballs that are able to level houses. The witch's powers vary from barely able to handle a human one-on-one physically to being able to level a town.
To being able to destroy Nagasaki.
Yeah. It really seems like 5 of these things could just lay waste to Europe.
Yet they never do.
Well, I guess they just have trouble organizing. They don't have any community leaders.
I like that the witches are like this force that could destroy the entire world, but they just they're so lazy and flaky, and they just can't get together.
They succeed in capturing all of the Pokemon cards and are able to summon Mewtwo. And so
keep going.
And so after that, we're in the danger zone. And so So
and then we find out through it's hinted that Grettel's mother is a witch or something.
yeah, so Gretel is fighting the witch lady, who she recognizes to be somewhat grander than your average witch, because she's able to assume a human form, and she doesn't just look decrepit all the time. But she recognizes her to a degree, and so there starts to be a hint of maybe some stuff in the past is going to bubble up to the future.
And by a hint, you mean everybody goes, "Oh, Grettel's a witch."
Yeah, no, by a hint I mean like a hammer to your knee.
Yeah, you go like she says a line and you go like, "Oh, Grettel's a witch."
Got it.
But everybody in the movie is acting like we didn't just know that.
Yes. So, for no reason other than the writers probably thought it was a good idea, Hansel and Gretel are separated for a little while, during which Hansel gets to enjoy being naked in a spring with a girl, while Gretel is just assaulted by 5 cops.
That's right. No, not even that. I wasn't even going to say that was the gross part. So, Hansel is hurt. Wait, no.
You don't need to go into all that. Gretel is assaulted by 5 cops.
Wait, no. This is This is gross. We have to bring this up.
What?
Yes, Hansel is hurt, and so the woman he saved in the earlier film takes him to a hot spring and just fucks him in it. And Gretel is hurt, and then wakes up, and is in the care of her fanboy, who's
just grabbing her boobs.
Who is rubbing dirt off her face and then just starts rubbing her boobs. And it's really creepy.
I mean, she was just right there,
Oh, yeah, well, that makes it totally okay, Matt.
But yeah, no, she immediately wakes up and is like, hands off the boobies.
But it's just funny where it's Hansel's getting fucked in a hot spring, and Grettel's getting assaulted by a creepy guy.
And then continues to get assaulted by 5 cops, just days from, worse to worse.
This is true.
But then we get to your favorite fight scene from the sounds of it earlier, where the troll, who is in the service of the Grand Witch, comes and just wrecks shit.
Yeah, he appears out of nowhere. Grettel is being assaulted by the sheriff and his men. She, bites the sheriff's nose off?
Yeah, she's just been assaulting this guy's nose, all movie.
She headbutts him in the first scene, and then in this scene, she literally bites his nose off and spits it at him.
Tyrion style.
And then a giant troll comes out of nowhere,
grabs a
whole tree, beats the guys with the tree, and then throws the sheriff to the ground and steps on his head, and it explodes like a watermelon.
Now, when you say he beats them with a tree, I feel like you lose the sense that he explodes their skulls by smashing them with a tree.
It's like if you had a bunch of cantaloupes on the ground and you just started hitting them with
an aluminum bat.
Right, with an
Not
aluminum
a wood
bat.
bat, an aluminum bat. He was cracking skulls.
Just killing, and it's not even like we're going oh man, you'd assume these guys died like that. No, they show their heads blowing up.
Yeah, no, it's just straight up Monty Python gore.
And I do have to say, I thought I will give the film this. The troll, excluding maybe 10 seconds, is not CGI. He's a complete practical effect.
Yeah.
It's a guy in an animatronic suit, and it looks really cool because he doesn't look fake because he's actually there.
No, yeah, he's pretty well put together.
Yeah, I just appreciated that, just on an aesthetic appeal. I was like, I like this. This looks good.
It did, and also he dropped another hint saying trolls are in the service of witches when she asks why he saved her.
Right, he's like, trolls serve witches.
And
we're
so
like,
that's kind of the hint drop again that by the way, you're a witch, so I could just let you die because...
And when you say hint...
Whatever.
And when you say hint drop, you mean everybody in the movie theater goes, yeah, we know. Yeah, Grettel's a witch. But Grettel goes who? What? Why? What are you talking about?
So she might be a little short on deductive powers.
As is everyone else in this film.
I don't know. I think the sheriff laid a pretty good case against Witch Lady by saying she's a witch. I mean, just come on.
So, Hansel's done fucking that lady, and Gretel is done almost getting raped. And they both they're just walking in the woods, just screaming each other's names.
Yep.
And they find each other, and they go into a spooky house.
They, like, fly into a spooky house. I don't even know how they get in there so fast.
And it turns out it's their old house, which shows that this whole movie, from beginning to end, has been taking place within, like, the same 4 miles.
I would even maybe say, like, the same 4 acres.
Same 4, like, it's so close to the village that they are hunting the witches in, where it's like, did you guys even leave the local area?
Yeah, it says that they, like, killed, like, 20 witches during the credits, and it's like, how far and wide do they have to travel? Clearly not very.
Right. Did they not travel far? Did they, like... Because they're literally, their old childhood home is, they turn around and they're like, oh, there's the village, it's right there. They're so close. Like, how did you guys just never go home? You found it by accident. You couldn't find it by accident when you were kids?
But now that they did find it, they crashed through several layers of floor because the house is in disrepair.
And it's real floor, not chocolate.
Right. Even the chocolate house had real floor. I mean, come on. If you're going to have a candy house, you got to at least build it on a good foundation.
Like, is this just a podcast about how to build, like, a solid home?
It can be. But nonetheless, their parents did not build a solid home, and they fall through to the basement where they discover, witch lair in the basement of their house. Oh my god.
So it turns out that their mother was a witch, which was something everybody figured out about an hour ago, but they show it as if everybody in the audience is supposed to go,
And then, just in another dramatic turn of events, it turns out the witch the lady accused of being a witch in the beginning is actually a witch.
Right. She shows up, tells them the story that Hansel and Gretel's mother was a good witch who... It was okay. So the spell that Famke Janssen wants to make them all fireproof, they need to kill 12 kids, 6 boys and 6 girls, one from each month of the year, and then they also need because on a blood moon, which occurs once every generation, which isn't true, and then they need the heart of a good witch,
a grand white witch.
Sure, the mayor of witches.
The mayor of the Good Witches.
The mayor of the Good Witches, which used to be Hansel and Gretel's mother, but they knew they couldn't kill Hansel and Gretel's mother because she was too powerful, so they were going to kill Gretel. So instead of letting them get killed, their parents led them into the woods and abandoned them so that they would be safe. But then the townspeople, like, found out she was a witch and burned her
fuck out of her parents
and just murdered them. They burn her alive and they hang their dad.
Yeah.
In a scene that for this movie is a little bit too real and a little bit too violent.
So things get pretty serious. But during this, good not witch, actually a witch, goes, there's a way to enchant your weapons that will make them so that...
Well, you skipped the whole part where she gets kidnapped.
I also skipped another important part. So during this whole movie, Hansel and Gretel have been armed with guns, but the witches are pretty good at defending themselves. They are able to deflect bullets away using spells or wards or something, and they also generally can beat Hansel and Gretel in hand-to-hand combat one-on-one. So one of the biggest issue has been to get through this seemingly impenetrable layer of defense that they're able to pull up. But
agreed.
And so Hansel pulls out the secret chain gun stash that he's been hiding.
No, you skipped it. You skipped it again.
You can go to it, whatever.
Okay, so right after they explain, like, your mother was a good witch, we need the heart of a good witch to become fireproof, even though that won't make us immortal, but that's important to us for some reason. So she stabs Jeremy Renner, and they kidnap Grettle.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Renner finds out that the girl he fucked in the hot spring is Good Witch, something that is not important and doesn't really matter. And so he's like, I gotta get my sister back. So Jeremy Renner has an entire ox cart filled with World War I era machine guns.
Yeah. I might even say it's like even better than that. That was a pretty serious Gatling gun. So at that point, I was like,
huge.
I was waiting for the steampunk Harrier jets and the steampunk fighting robots.
It's like, oh look, I have the. She's like, oh, we don't need magic. I have the Luftwaffe.
Exactly. So they're arming up because at the ceremony that they're sacrificing Grettle for to get their fireproofing this, all of the witches of the land are going to be assembling, and so they're going to have a lot of opposition. But, as I said earlier, the White Witch has found a way to enchant weapons to pierce the witch's defenses. So the first thing on the docket and the only sign of sense in the movie is the Gatling gun. They're just like, well, we're going to enchant this first, which, good call.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So we flash to, Grand Witch torturing children or whatever, and then she's like, all right, it's time. She summons all the witches. They're all, whatever, big montage of different witches. They're gathering up.
They're on Witch Mountain, and all of these witches fly so they don't get burned alive, even though you can cut their heads off, cut their hearts out, and skin them alive.
But this is a big deal. So they're coming up, and then Hansel shows up and is like, well, I'm gonna kill you all. And then they go, well, you're probably not. And he goes, well, I fucking am. And then...
Wait, no. It's not even that. It's the best scene. It's my favorite scene in the movie.
Really?
So yeah, no, this is my favorite scene. So he shows up and he shoots a shotgun in the air and he's like, you all are going to kill my sister because exposition.
Yep.
And like the Famke Janssen is like, okay, you witch with knives for hands, just go take care of him because bullets don't work on us. And he just pulls his gun up and just shoots her head off and it explodes. And then all the witches are like, oh shit.
Yeah, so they have their oh shit moment, and then the spring-loaded Gatling gun pops up from the ground, and Good Witch just throws away any sense of being good, and just lays into this crowd.
Firing at least 3,000 bullets a minute, and she shoots it for at least 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, there was no ammo pile large enough for how long she was shooting that gun.
And it's not like it's like, oh, this weapon's in vain. Like, she kills everybody.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a massacre. Like, you almost feel bad for the witches.
You're like, oh, geez, man. Like, stop for a second.
Yeah, like, except maybe a couple surrenders, but no, it's just, like, laying them the fuck out.
Everybody's dying.
And so the Queen Witch decides that she's got to, accelerate this process. So she tries to get the kids ready, tries to stab out Gretel's heart, but then fight, yada, yada, isn't able to do it, so she's got to escape. Meanwhile, down below, left on guard duty, is Super Noob Fan number 1, who is able to stop the Grand Witch from fleeing. She has been cruising on her broom at like 60 miles an hour for like 2 minutes. Noob Guy stops her. 30 seconds later.
You gotta say who Noob Guy is, because we've never referred to him as Noob Guy.
Okay, Superfan number 1. That's what I called him.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And so Grettle is there in 30 seconds, just at a walking pace.
Even though they are at least 300 miles away.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, she was cruising on that broom. But nonetheless, he just kind of walks out of the woods like I've been here the whole time. Fight ensues. Or no, actually, they end up finding the candy house.
Yeah, so they're fanboy. So they have the big fight on the mountain with the Gatling gun. She tries to kill Grettle. Grettle fights back, and the witch just pulls a broom and gets away. So Hansel and Gretel are like, we have to go get them. So they go to get them, and their number one fanboy shoots them with like a...
You're literally saying everything I just said.
Yeah, but I'm saying it better than you. Well, anyway, who cares?
It is worth describing the obnoxious bullet he used, though.
Well, yeah, so he has like a Winchester rifle that unfolds in like 7 pieces because it was literally in Gretel's pocket. And he unfolds it like it's a pocket knife, and it goes like shing 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 shing. And you're like, well, that's not how guns work. That would blow up, and he would die.
If only.
But he doesn't die, and he shoots the witch off the broom, and Hansel and Gretel get there, and they're like, where's the witch? Where's the witch? He's like, they go over there. So they go over there, and that's where we see the candy house 45 years later, and is still a structure somehow. But
barely. It has shown to be run down by some bit. So Hansel heads in there. Meanwhile, Gretel is back a bit, and this is worth pointing out in my opinion. So the big troll guy that saved her from the sheriff's people earlier went down in the witch fight because he tried to help her out there too. And she takes the taser that shouldn't exist and then pumps it up and uses it as a defibrillator, which they shouldn't know how to do, and shocks him back to life.
All the more, which makes this the future.
Yeah, we're going to stick with that. This is definitely the future. And so she joins Hansel in the candy house fight against the witch.
This is where Jeremy Renner says my favorite line. They're walking up and they see the candy house, and it's music that goes like bum bum bum, and the fanboy's like, "What's that?" And he goes, he says something, and he goes, "Whatever you do, don't eat the
fucking candy.
Yeah. Don't eat the fucking candy." And I'm like, was that? And I was sitting there thinking, like, is that a line where he's like, don't eat the candy because we did that and a witch got us? Or is he like, don't eat that because you'll get diabetes?
You know what? It was probably the movie taking a stance on the high sugar content of the American diet. And he was really trying to save kids from childhood obesity and type 2 diabetes. So I applaud the movie for taking this health stance and really getting the word out there, you know.
This movie didn't get enough credit for its message.
60 minutes a day, Michelle Obama, that's all I'm saying.
All right, keep going.
So Hansel...
Oh, no. Whoa.
So...
I dropped my microphone.
You don't even need to talk. So...
But I dropped it, and it was...
So as we've been saying, this movie really lacks any suspense whatsoever. So Hansel goes to go into the candy cane house, and you think he's going to be, like, moving room to room, and she's going to be hiding and a little ominous. No, he opens the door, and she just clubs him with a shovel, like, right off the bat. And so it's like, oh, this is on. So they, like I said, I was expecting, like, there of all places before the final boss fight to have a little suspense, but just no, right into it. So shovel fight, Hansel and Gretel are really going at it. Gretel's disabled and useless because whatever. Hansel really seems to have things locked down, but then, oh no, steampunk timer watch goes off. And
super diabetes attack.
And so you think this is really going to affect the fight, but it really sets him back like 30 seconds while he almost casually gets his syringe, injects himself, then goes right back to being on top of everything.
I'll give you 30 seconds. It's like 15.
Yeah, for something that they've really tried to play up for earlier in the movie, it doesn't have much effect on the final boss fight, and the movie would be the same without it.
And even in the scene where they try to act like it's a big deal, like this is the final boss scene, they're going to kill the Grandmaster Witch, or who gives a shit. And he's like, oh no, diabetes, and he falls on the ground. And you think, like...
Yeah, I thought she was going to, like, get out of everything, just stab him in the heart and, like, be done.
Right, exactly. You think she's going to get... Because he's got her wrapped in a chain, and you think she's going to get out of the chain and he's going to have to refight her. She doesn't.
Nope, he had her in there pretty good.
She doesn't get out. He gets his shot. He gets up. I just dropped my microphone again.
You suck at this.
Well, it's sitting on a stool. He gets a shot. He gets back up. He throws her on the ground, and then
shovel attack.
And then he hits her with a shovel, and him and Grettle both cut her head off with a shovel, further implying that their plan to not catch on fire
was useless.
Does not matter. You think this whole plan where they're like, oh man, we want to cast this spell so we can't burn. They would at least burn the last witch.
Just to emphasize how important it was, but no, they don't even do that.
No, they're not even like, no, they're not like, oh man, we're going to burn her because it's the only way to kill a witch, because that's the whole MacGuffin of the goddamn film. Instead of that, they're like, let's cut her head off, and then they just do it, and she's dead.
They do it with a blunt shovel, so clearly they need a neck spell of some kind.
Right, and then like watching that scene made me go like, well, like in your death, did you not go like, oh man, my whole plan was kind of useless?
No, I think she just went, oh god, my neck, that shovel, and died.
Well, that's probably what happens, because that is what happens. They kill her with a shovel. Famke Janssen is dead, and the movie ends.
Yeah, about that.
But like in a good way though, because they're all happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like this movie.
I as well would recommend it. I was able to finish it for one thing, which we really can't say about all the ones that we've done.
And, right, I'll agree. All of the movies we watch by ourselves, and then we come together and we do this podcast. And just even watching this movie by myself, I enjoyed it. So if I had a couple of friends over, and a few beers, and a bowl of chicken wings, this movie would be great.
Yeah, I would definitely say it. It's pretty easy to make fun of, because there is the, like, massive amount of anachronisms and other issues. But overall,
boy are there other issues.
Yeah, the biggest one I would definitely have to say is the anachronisms, though. Yeah, but overall, I would give it. Looking around.
Well, wait. Do you want to do your summary and then your review, and then I'll go?
All right. So summary. There's a lot of witch fighting. The witches there's a lot of good choreography to the fights. The witches have a lot of spells that they're used. They have a lot of physical prowess in fighting. Very exciting to watch those. Overall, the plot doesn't make sense just at all. Hansel and Gretel are just like clearly time travelers or something, because like they don't even try to blend with their surroundings even slightly. But very good movie. So I'm going to have to give it maybe, let's say, 6 pillows.
Out of what?
On a bed. So, I don't know.
That's not out of anything. Okay, no,
6 pillows
right.
seems like a lot for a bed.
6 pillows on a bed. Okay, that's fine. All right, my turn. This movie has a lot of practical effects. It has a lot of like actual blood sprays. It's very violent. There's unnecessary cursing. If you're watching it with a bunch of people, it's fun. This is a fun movie. Don't get me wrong, it's stupid. Like, if you are like, okay, everybody, we're going to watch Hansel and Gretel, before you hit play, ask everybody to close their eyes and imagine 2 people getting into a time machine who are going to go back in time and kill witches, and then open your eyes and hit play. And the movie will mean so much more to you. But even if you don't do that, it's fun. Like, this is a really fun movie. I like this movie. I'm going to give it a whole liter of Johnny Walker Black.
What about a liter of cola?
I'll give it a liter of anything.
Or you could fucking be American.
What do you want me to give it a liter of?
Try a quart, fucking commie.
All right, I'll give it a quart of Johnny Walker Black.
God, jeez.
Yeah, I'll give it a large measurement of some kind of Scotch whiskey. How about that?
I'll take it.
All right, you'll take it. And yeah, this movie was really fun. This is the most fun I've ever had watching any movie we've had to watch for this. It was enjoyable. This brings me into our discussion we said we were going to have later as to whether or not a movie being a hot dog is a good thing or a bad thing.
I'm going to say in the context of this, probably a bad thing. Nothing against hot dogs, but yeah.
Well, I don't know, because every movie we've done before this, we've said this movie is a hot dog, implying that hot dogs are quickly processed, poor meat that makes a bad product. Nothing against your precious hot dogs. I know you like hot dogs.
Thanks, babe.
But I think that's the way we gotta go. If a movie is quickly shot out and it's dumb and bad, it's a hot dog. But okay, will you say this is a Hebrew National all-beef hot dog?
Sure, but in the end, we're going to have to say it.
We're going to have to say it. This movie was a hot dog. But it was a good quality hot dog. Like, it was a hot dog where you'd make at a 4th of July barbecue, and you're like, this was good. Like, I might have another one in a half an hour.
Or now.
Or now. Like, you eat your hot dog, and you're like, that was good. I'll have another hot dog right now. That's fine.
But all right, it's been said, and we must wrap up.
No, we must not wrap up.
Zach?
Wait. Do you want to do movie reviews? Or do you want to do movie suggestions?
No, this one already went on, way longer than the rest. You got bogged down in details, a lot really early.
That's fine. Who cares?
All right. Save movie suggestions for next time. I gotta get back to working out. I was gonna try and run tonight.
Okay, well, I'll wrap it up because Matt's being whatever. If you like us, hit us up at Gmail at moviehotdog@gmail.com. If you want to Twitter us, hit us up at moviehotdog.twitter/the Internet Explorer. And if you want to Facebook us, look us up at This Movie Was a Hot Dog. Yeah, I got it. Thank you,
do you?
Grandpa. Yeah, yes, I do.
You're stumbling pretty hard.
Well, it's late here.
It's drunk there, you mean?
No, I'm not even drinking tonight.
Oh, that's a surprise. I thought you did that for all the reviews.
Nope, it is for all of us. Okay, I'm Zach.
I'm Matt. All right.
Okay, you gotta go. I'll see you.
Yeah, you'll probably have to cut out a little bit of that discussion.
I'm not cutting out any of that.
Good.
Bye.
All right, I love you.